Early May 1940, Europe. Nazi Germany's war with Great Britain and France has raged since September 1939, yet the Western Front has remained still. That changes today. On the 10th of May 1940, German forces launch a massive invasion of France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. Belgium and the Netherlands fall within weeks. Between the 26th of May and the 4th of June, more than 300,000 French and British troops are rescued from the beaches of Dunkirk, crossing the English Channel to the safety of Great Britain. On the 14th of June, Paris falls to the Germans. Just 8 days later, the French delegation signs an armistice, placing much of the country under German occupation. The Nazis begin reshaping France to fit their rule, relying on local collaborators to enforce their policies and commit brutal acts against the population. Among those collaborators is a British soldier who, instead of escaping to Britain, chooses to remain in occupied France. In the years to come, he will become a double agent for the Germans and betray 150 resistance fighters to the Gestapo, the Nazi secret police. Most of them will be executed or will die in concentration camps. This traitor's name is Harold Cole. Harold Cole was born on the 24th of January 1906 in London and grew up in Hoxton, a slum in the city's East End. His father, Albert, was an unskilled laborer who fought in the First World War and was killed in action. His mother, Alice Ann Godfrey, was a former servant who later remarried a man named Thomas Mason, whose surname Harold would later use as an alias while on the run in France. From an early age, Harold Cole showed a talent for deception. He left school at 14 and quickly turned to crime. Tall, good-looking, and always smartly dressed, he crafted the image of a refined upper-class Englishman, despite his working-class background. By the time he reached adulthood, he had become known to the police as a con artist and embezzler. He often posed as a British military officer, using fake identities to swindle people out of money or favors. His charm and apparent confidence allowed him to manipulate those around him with ease, especially women, whom he used whenever it suited him. The Second World War started on the 1st of September 1939, when Nazi Germany invaded Poland. When World War II began, Harold Cole saw an opportunity where others saw danger. In early 1940, while serving with a British expeditionary force in France, he was promoted to sergeant and put in charge of the non-commissioned officers' mess fund. True to his past, he stole the money, reportedly planning to spend it on prostitutes. Arrested and imprisoned, he found himself behind bars as the German Blitzkrieg, the Lightning War, swept across France. During the chaos of the Dunkirk evacuation, his guards released him, and instead of escaping to Britain, Cole decided to remain in occupied France. In the city of Lille, he began operating under yet another false identity. Driving a stolen black Peugeot, he entered the black market scene and introduced himself to the locals as a former Scotland Yard detective who had once served as a bodyguard to Wallis Simpson before she became the Duchess of Windsor. He claimed that he was now a captain in the British intelligence, working to help stranded British soldiers return home. He even persuaded a wealthy industrialist, François Dupré, to finance his efforts to assist British soldiers and airmen to escape France and return to England. In reality, however, he was building an escape network for profit. Cole spoke very poor French with a thick Cockney accent and knew no German at all. Yet he confidently mingled with the enemy, often dining in cafes alongside German soldiers. Dressed in flamboyant outfits, he made no effort to hide his English appearance. On one occasion, when his car broke down while transporting escapees, he even flagged down a German army lorry for help and got away with it. Though his tales of adventure grew more exaggerated over time, his confidence silenced most doubters. Cole eventually linked his own operation to the British-supported Pat O'Leary escape line, which helped Allied soldiers and airmen stranded or shot down over occupied Europe evade capture by the Germans and return to Great Britain. He operated in Marseilles. In this seedy port city filled with spies, criminals, and Nazi agents, Cole felt completely at home. He began calling himself Monsieur Paul and spent lavishly in nightclubs and high-end restaurants. He would tell others who urged caution, "Do not worry, I have the Germans in my pocket." But questions began to arise. His reckless lifestyle did not match the image of someone devoted to rescuing Allied personnel. The resistance members in Marseille began to suspect that he was stealing large sums of money, funds sent from London to support the escape network. Evidence showed that rather than distributing it to his helpers, Cole was diverting hundreds of thousands of francs into his own wallet, financing his life of excess. Eventually, Cole was summoned to a private meeting in a Marseille apartment. Confronted with the allegations, his arrogance collapsed. He dropped to his knees and confessed, begging for mercy. He pleaded, "I have done good things as well." While the others debated what to do with him, some considered executing him. Cole escaped through the bathroom window and vanished once again. Not long after, he resurfaced in Lille, this time in German hands. It remains unclear whether he surrendered or was captured, but what followed was undeniable. Cole revealed extensive details to German intelligence, including names, addresses, escape routes, and maps. His betrayal filled over 30 typewritten pages. In the following months, dozens of resistance members and Allied contacts were arrested. Many were tortured, deported, or executed. In some cases, the Germans staged fake arrests of Cole so that he could maintain his cover and continue gathering information. He worked closely with the Gestapo, helping to dismantle entire escape networks and laying traps for Allied agents parachuting into France. In total, at least 150 men and women died in German hands as a result of Harold Cole's treachery. In the summer of 1941, Harold Cole met Suzanne Warringham, a young and patriotic guide working for the Pat Line. She was just 19, half English, and deeply committed to the Allied cause. Despite repeated warnings about Cole's suspicious behavior, she fell under his spell. By April 1942, they were married in Paris. But Cole's manipulation extended even into this relationship. He claimed to be a double agent, secretly working against the Nazis. She believed him, until she saw the truth during their joint arrest in June 1942 in the city of Lyon by the collaborationist Vichy police. At her trial, she was found innocent of espionage. Cole, on the other hand, had already crossed the line from fraudster to full-blown collaborator. By the winter of 1943, Cole was released from prison and went to work with the SD, the intelligence agency of the SS and the Nazi Party, under Hans Kiefer in Paris. He now operated from Avenue Foch, the SD's Paris headquarters, where torture was routine. Cole actively assisted in the arrest of resistance fighters, the capture of Allied agents, and the dismantling of escape networks. His allegiance to Nazi Germany was now obvious, and he was no longer pretending. On the 6th of June 1944, under the code name Operation Overlord, US, British, and Canadian troops crossed the English Channel and began landing on the Normandy coast in France. The operation became known as D-Day and was the largest amphibious invasion in history, deploying more than 160,000 Allied troops by air, land, and sea. As the Allies approached Paris in August 1944, Cole fled with Kiefer and other operatives of the SD. He wore a German officer's uniform, then later burned all identifying documents. Reinventing himself once again, he took on the name Captain Robert Mason and claimed to be a British secret agent who had been captured and held by the Nazis. When the group surrendered to American forces near the town of Wald in southern Germany, Cole managed to convince his captors that he was on their side. Not only was he released, but he was given a US Army lieutenant's uniform and identification papers. Soon after, fearing exposure, Cole deserted the American military and reappeared in the French-occupied zone of southwestern Germany. Still wearing his US uniform, he was welcomed as a valuable intelligence operative and given authority to arrest suspected Nazis. True to form, he quickly abused his power. He recruited a group of thugs, carried out brutal raids, looted homes, and even executed at least one former SS officer without permission. He seized vehicles, hoarded fuel and weapons, and hosted parties in a villa confiscated from a Nazi official. Once again, Cole had turned war into personal profit. His reckless confidence finally led to his downfall. He sent a postcard to his former mistress, Charlotte Leblanc, in Paris. She passed it on to someone connected to British military intelligence, and it ended up in the hands of the security service. On the 11th of June, 1945, Cole was arrested by security service officer Peter Hope after a violent confrontation in which Cole shot Hope in the leg. While in custody, he was told, "You are being detained on suspicion of having worked for the Gestapo and for having given away to them the names of persons engaged in escape organizations." Cole nodded and replied, "I realized this would come one day. I know I must die for what I have done." Still, it was not the end. On the 18th of November, 1945, Cole disguised himself using an American sergeant's overcoat, walked out of the Paris prison, and disappeared yet again. Carrying a typewriter, he claimed to be working on his memoirs. Now on the run, he wandered through post-war Europe, blending in with the chaos of displaced millions. But his ego betrayed him. Instead of hiding, Cole returned to old haunts. A man matching his description was seen in a Paris nightclub. On the 8th of January, 1946, acting on a tip, French police conducted a routine sweep of the bar known as Billy's. In the shootout that followed, Harold Cole was killed. He was 39 years old. Cole's death was met with indifference or even relief. His victims were finally avenged. A French priest whom Cole had betrayed and sent to the guillotine left behind a final letter, writing, "He is a monster of cowardice and weakness. I would not hesitate to burn him." A Scottish clergyman who had worked with the escape network in Marseilles declared, "You are a disgusting traitor without shame. You deserted your country and sold your friends to the Nazis for money. God help you." And Charlotte, the woman he once claimed to love, offered perhaps the most devastating line of all. "You have sacrificed others not for a very important mission, as you pretended to, but to save your own skin."
Thanks for watching the World History channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss our next episodes. We thank you, and we'll see you next time on the channel.